We have an update on a case that we have been following for more than a year now. Yesterday, Gene Gallimore pled guilty to felony hit and run death of a Roanoake woman. In February 2019, police say Gallimore hit and killed Linda Pearson as she was crossing 5th Street in Roanoake. Gallimore was also charged with driving without a license, but prosecutors dropped that. He was sentenced to 3 years with a year and a half suspended. He's getting credit for his time served, so he should be released in about 4 months. He will have a 1 year of probation.
So shout out to Darian McNeil for sending me this story. And this story right here is completely foreign to me. Like, I never heard of this story, and they said it happened last year. This is my first time ever hearing about this story. So when I saw that when I saw the words Roanoake and hit and run, I already knew the person behind the wheel of the car had to be a palm-colored individual, because it's Roanoake, Virginia. But then when I found out that the person that he hit was black, and then the sentencing, I said, now it all really makes sense. So this man's name is Gene Gallimore, as you heard in the audio. And this woman right here, her name was Linda Pearson. She was 58 years of age. This man killed her in a hit and run, and all he got was 18 goddamn months. And they say he could possibly be out in 4 months because he's already got time served. So he'll be out by the end of the summer, basically, is what they're telling us, because this article came out on Tuesday, May 12th. Let me go ahead and read more into this article, because that was just a small update. The article goes into more detail. A Roanoke man has pled guilty to a hit and run that ended up killing a woman last February. Police said they responded to the intersection of the 5th Street and Campbell Avenue Southwest February 13th, 2019 for reports of a woman who had been hit by a car. According to officers, 58-year-old Linda Pearson was found lying on the sidewalk near the intersection. Police said she had been crossing the 5th Street walking west when she was hit by a vehicle that fled the scene. She was taken to the hospital where she later died. Police found the suspect vehicle, a red 2012 Chevrolet Silverado, involved in the accident a week later in the 4th Street and Highland Avenue Southwest area. So not only did this man drive and hit this woman and then run and flee, but it took them a week to find him and his car. Which means he had no intention of turning himself in. None. That just shows you how reckless he is behind the wheel of the car and how much he didn't care about this woman's well-being. He didn't even, clearly, I always say this, a person who commits a hit and run, they are some of the worst people ever. Especially if they're sober. Not saying that if you are drunk behind the wheel of a car, because at that point, you don't even care about your own life, let alone somebody else's. But then the audio also went on to say that this guy was driving with, a suspended license? That's basically the same thing as driving without a license. You know, like, this is the same difference. You might as well have left your license at home. But they said they dropped that charge. This guy pretty much got away with murder, in essence, because that wasn't, I don't even think manslaughter was one of the charges. And if it was, it didn't come up. Let's see. 3 months after the accident, Roanoke police arrested 59-year-old Gene Gallimore. 3 months. They arrested this man 3 months after he killed this woman. So apparently they found the car the week later, but they couldn't find him. They didn't find him till 3 months after he hit and killed this woman. According to online court records, Gallimore pled guilty to felony hit and run resulting in death May 11th in Roanoke County Circuit Court. I feel like they undercharged him. I mean, think about it. Driving without a license, he hit and killed this woman. He didn't stop. He didn't offer aid. He kept on going. They found his car a week later. They didn't find him until 3 months later. He never had intentions of turning himself in. He drove with a suspended license. And manslaughter was not one of the charges. And they dropped the charge against him for driving with a suspended license. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison with a suspension of 1 year and 6 months. So he's not. So he's really not. He's not really spending 3 years. Because basically he's already been in jail already. Like I said, time served. He was just found. He was just sentenced this past week. Gallimore also gets credit for time served, so he will be released in about 4 months and will be on probation for a year. It says misdemeanor charge of driving without a license was dropped. I'm telling you, the privilege runs deep with this one. Only in America can the palm-colored individual drive with a suspended license, not get charged for driving with a suspended license, hit someone with your vehicle, kill them, flee the scene, find their car a week later with them nowhere to be found, find them 3 months later, finally arrest them, put them in jail, then can finally sentence them a year later, or over a year later, to 3 years, but they slash a year and 6 months off because of time served, will get out in 4 months and is not hit with a manslaughter charge. Do not sit up here and try to insult my intelligence and try to tell me that palm-colored privilege is not real. This is a perfect example of that, where someone's life was lost behind recklessness. And let me go back to the part where I said about sober. I wonder, did they give him a drug test? Because I always said this: if a person hits and runs, does a hit and run, I want to assume that this person most likely was intoxicated with something, some type of a drug, some type of an alcohol. Because to do that completely sober would mean that you are a horrible driver. But it's the recklessness behind the hit and run, the fact that you do not stop after you have hit somebody. Something tells me that if Linda Pearson was a golden retriever, he would have stopped. But because it was her, he kept going. And they said they found her on the sidewalk. So how fast was this man going is the question. Because they said she was starting to cross into the street. And when she got hit, they found her on the sidewalk. So he had to have been going pretty fast and knocked her all the way back from where she was walking from. That impact was intense. And he kept going. Y'all, first off, let me offer my condolences to this woman's family, first and foremost. And this piece of shit, no wonder they kept his story under wraps. They didn't want nobody to find out, because they probably would have got to him the whole time he was in there. Let's think about it. He's been in there for a year and 6 months, as far as we know. And he only has 4 months left, or 3 months left, or how long, whatever the article stated. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.